It's important for youth athletes right up to kind of being a professional athlete. There's some things you might already know, some things you might not know, and if you can just kind of widen your horizons a little bit about what strength and conditioning is and what it isn't. So hopefully that is what it's going to do for you. So just a quick thing about me. So I've worked with a lot of different groups, specifically youth athletes, over the last couple of years. And I've worked here with the ETC, which is the Girls Football Academy. I've worked with England Netball's Pathway, which we had here, and Grangetown Netball. And I've worked with England Women's Rugby Youth Pathway as well. And on the AmChamps programme, and I've been part of the AmChamps here for about 5 years. Started off as the S&C coach over there, and kind of now I oversee that for Mark as well. And then now I'm at Teesside Sport, like I say, as their performance sport coordinator. And I've also done this bit of blurb on the side. I've just done some research that's been published as well about, it was during COVID, how online strength sessions could still benefit you even if you can't get in the gym. So I'm really pleased to have that published as a piece of work as well. So like youth athletes and youth athlete development is kind of my specialty from like 11 to 18. And hopefully these are the broad things that we're going to look at. What is strength and conditioning? How does it fit in to the youth athlete's development? S&C and the growing athlete. Training periodisation. So then periodisation might not be a word that you understand. I'm not going to expect you to. But periodisation is just the way we plan and segment training. So then if you hear that word, periodisation, the coaches that you go to for your sport might say it, you might have periodised training. But we'll kind of dip into that a little bit. And then also fueling the youth athlete. So I'm not a nutritionalist, and you might get to go to the sessions with Nick Tweedy. We do put other sessions on around diet and nutrition. But we'll have a little bit in there about fueling your performance. So, a little bit of interactive here. We're going to just get our phones. If we scan that QR code, you should just be able to type in what sport you do, and then it'll come up on there just to give me an idea of what everybody does. There shouldn't be anything except just putting what sport. So we'll have a couple of minutes just getting that up. Kind of gives me an idea of where to go. Tumbling. Who does tumbling? So we had Jess Bray. Do you know Jess Bray? Yeah. And Lewis Westwood? Yeah. So we've had them come through, and they've been our performance scholars at the uni as well. So I'm always in awe of the tumbling. It looks crazy. So have you been competing this year?
Yeah. No, not this year yet, but last year I was in France.
Oh. What competition was that one?
The French Cup.
Oh, how did you get on?
Well, I went there but I had to pull out from injury.
Oh, injuries seem really common in tumbling.
Yeah.
It's like high impact, isn't it? Oh, that was unfortunate. So swimming, tumbling, netball, coastal rowing, athletics, triathlon, judo, nice. So is everybody put in? Obviously put in? Well, you can't put yours on there.
So it says a boxer there. I can't see boxing here, but I can see boxing sat over there. Just keeping it shy. I'll put it in for you. I'll put boxing.
So we've got a wide range of sports there, and every one of them sports, including boxing, can benefit from strength training and conditioning training. So it's good to see a wide range of sports. That's what I just wanted to see. Brilliant. So, biggest myth. If anybody has any other myths, they can tell me in a minute. But that's the biggest one. Lifting weights is unsafe for children and will stunt their growth. Have people heard that one before? No? Yeah. Have we got any other myths about strength training? Or anything that you've heard? I think, is that true? Isn't it true?
There's that one, isn't it, about how you've got to be a certain age. You're not allowed to lift weights, and if you're under 15 or something, isn't it?
Yeah, don't be lifting weights, yeah. Conceal your growth plates is another one. All that kind of stuff. So all the evidence from the last 40, 50 years, we want high levels of physical activity, and that includes strength training, and it's really beneficial for young children from 5 and 6 upwards to be doing strength training. And we can see it exposes them to the correct movement patterns. That's in your S&C sessions: squatting, pressing, pulling, hinging, lunging, and obviously it improves muscular strength. Bone mineral density, which is something in our bones, so we're less likely to fracture them or break them when we're doing sports. And then it says self-efficacy, but it kind of means it instills a bit of, you can be proud, children's self-confidence improves by coming to strength training. But these are the key things you take from strength training as a youth athlete. Bone strength, the mineral content, tendon strength, obviously muscle strength, and then we get lower rates of fracture, muscular tenderness and muscle injuries. So if you do strength training when you do your sport, you're less likely to be injured. And then obviously, if you're doing strength training, muscular strength, muscular power, things you might not know: muscular endurance, agility, balance and stability, coordination, speed of movement. These things will all increase with strength training. And this is the definition of strength, or a definition, because there's multiple ones. Strength and conditioning, the aim is to improve physical and physiological factors aligned to specific sports performance outcomes. So we don't just want you coming and getting strong for the sake of being strong. That's kind of irrelevant. We want you to be strong so you get better in your sport. And like I say, so we reduce injuries, so you can jump higher, so you can run faster, so you can recover faster, so you can punch harder, so you can last longer, so you can row faster, so you can throw people quicker. So they're the aims of strength training. It's not just strength, it's to get you better at your sport and improve your sporting performance. Right, so let's get our phones again and see how many people have had any experience of strength training.
Do you have the answer for you? I mean, yes or no?
Yeah, you can use any phone, it's kind of not registered to you, it's just going to give an answer.
I said I can do 2 yeses.
Yeah. Thank you.
Well, I've done 2.
So that's good. That, it seems like well, nearly everybody's had some experience of strength training. So that's it, over, right, all done? That's quite... No, okay, so that's good, I just wanted to see that. So what are the aims? As we've talked about injury, we've talked about them other things, athletic performance, also working towards Olympic lifting, which is kind of our high-end strength and conditioning. If you went on to be a GB athlete over 18, or maybe on some of the camps, you want to be able to win Olympic lift. So that's part of, you might not think it's part of the S&C stuff, but it is. It's kind of where we're going. We can improve our mental health and well-being, we can reduce injuries, and it also keeps you mobile. Your strength and conditioning, even though we want to improve in your sport, we generally do a full aspect of strength and conditioning, so you can go from one sport to another. It's not like when you're 15 or 14 or 15, we're only doing that one sport, we're only getting the strength and conditioning for that sport. We're kind of, we're giving you the program to be able to move across sports, and that's like mobility. All our joints, our whole body can improve. And strength and power training is a central cog for improving all these: speed and agility, movement skills, muscular endurance, and balance and flexibility. So lifting weights somehow will give you more muscular endurance. Don't know exactly how, but it does. It will make your movement skills better. It will improve your balance and flexibility. And it will improve speed and agility, especially if alongside it you're doing your sports training. And then we'll just, this is the same thing, long-term athlete development plans. So this is what you should have if you're doing strength and conditioning as a youth athlete. There will be a big plan in place. It's not just next week you're coming in to do this, or the next few weeks we're doing this. It's a broad program that should develop over the years. And it's the same thing as what I've just said. Your motor performance and motor skill acquisition is things like your balance. It's just another way of balancing agility and things like that. And we don't need that one. So, what we've got to be careful with strength and conditioning is not doing too much of it. So once you've got a program off wherever you go for your S&C, that is enough strength and conditioning. You might think, well, I'm going to go to the gym more. More is just more. Enough is enough. When you get a programme and you're training 2 days a week, that is enough. You might look at it and think, oh, that's not enough, that hasn't made me tired. I feel like I could do more. No, more is just more. As a strength practitioner, wherever you go, we give you the correct dose of strength training to complement your sport. So we've got to be careful not to overload, not to think, oh yeah, I feel great, I can do more. No, enough is enough. And also, even though I'm a strength coach, I'm wise enough to understand that you need to spend time on other things, like your sports training, your skill training, whatever else comes around your sport. It's not all about strength training, even though I think it is. It's not. It's a wider, we're kind of a tiny cog in helping you become the best athletes that you can. So I've talked a bit about strength, and this is the conditioning part. So the conditioning part isn't a bodybuilder condition where they get shredded. We don't want that. Our condition is metabolic conditioning, which is your cardio, your anaerobic and your aerobic capacity. And you're probably all doing things like running, jogging, sprinting, cycling, swimming, anything to complement your aerobics. You might be doing short sprints, long sprints, whatever that is the conditioning part of the strength and conditioning. And kind of how do we work out your strength and conditioning and how it should be? The difference probably between a strength coach and strength and conditioning and personal training is we do sports science testing. And that could just be 1 rep max testing. It could be more technical. We could do jump testing. We can do hip strength. We can do any sort of testing in the sports science realm. And this is one of the athletes we've got here, who's a cyclist, is in the pink. And that is the appropriate testing for him. So he does VO2 max testing, where he tests how his body uses oxygen. That's why he's got a mask on. And the more efficient he is with oxygen, the better his muscles will work, so the more power he'll have when he's cycling. Has anybody done any of the sports science testing for your sport? You have, you go. So what have you done?
Stuff at the S&C, like the testing days and things.
Yeah, we'll have done upper body strength, lower body strength.
Jumping, height, stuff like that.
Yeah, jumping. Has anybody else done any? Oh, because you've been up to the uni for the testing, yeah. So if you haven't done the testing, you probably should be getting tested, because it's a way to monitor how you're doing. It's a starting point to program your work and your workload, and it's a good way to test if you're progressing along it. Some places, like here at the uni, we're really lucky we have all the top equipment. Some places, like I say, I might just do a 1 rep max test on different body parts, or they might just have some sort of strain gauges to test your power that way. But there's a lot of ways to test, but we do have some really good stuff here. And I think so another little one. So you're going to rate these on that grid when you get the QR code. So what are the difference between strength training and bodybuilding? So put it on the grid where you think it should be, each of them. I think it becomes self-expanding once you get on there.
So that sounds tricky, that to me, Andy.
No, so it's muscle size important for strength training. It is for bodybuilding, it's not for strength training. Hopefully it'll work, and hopefully we can do it.
Job. I'll bring it up. I'm stuck. I'll breathe in.
So if it doesn't work, shout me and we'll have to talk about it.
It works.
Oh, mine now.
You got access to it.
Yeah, I've got it on now. It's just rebooting.
So it's kind of just to test what we think, what we know. If we've all experienced strength training, we should kind of get to the right answers on some of things. So if anyone's struggling here, we've got 2 sides, 1 bodybuilding, 1 strength training. And I think it's going to conglomerate all our answers. Yeah. I think it finds the average.
It's like they're all shuffling about, aren't they? You can see them all moving.
Yeah.
Is that it?
It's put some a bit of brain training for you as well. Get them talking though. Hear lots of whispers.
Shammy, you were being the quietest I've ever known you.
Huh?
You were the quietest I've ever known you. You should be sat down here telling us the answers.
Oh, okay.
Right, cool, it looks like we're getting there. So, I don't want to go in front of that.
You know, it's blind and that, isn't it?
Can't use the- I'm using the pointer thing because I don't want to go in front of there. But yeah, we can see, obviously bodybuilding, 3, it's important how you look. And it's all about muscle size. Your strength training isn't, although in everyday life it's important how you look, that might be really important to you. But for your sport, it's not. We're more concerned with your muscle strength, which is number 2. It looks like it's hidden behind number 8. Yeah, muscle strength. Yeah, it could be important with bodybuilding, definitely important for strength training. Your muscle strength is really important. That's how we're going to generate any power in whatever we do. And I can see we've got 4 and 5, kind of in the middle, yeah. Long training sessions, short training sessions. Could be for anything. We can kind of manipulate them to be what we want for whatever sport we want. Good to see that we've got 7 over there, because that is how we do strength training. Movement pattern training is what we're all about. Or sometimes you might do upper body and lower body, but movement pattern training, yeah, really good to get that over there. We're not interested in single body part training. So really, we want that right over here. Because unless you've had an injury, you don't want to be doing single body parts. If you had an injury and you need to recover that, that might be the case when we're going to do a single body part. And yet, consistency, we want right at the top, because whatever you're doing, consistency is key. So whether it's the bodybuilding, strength training, any sport, consistency is the key to everything. So that's good. It looks like we've got a nice understanding there. Hopefully, we'll get a bit more as we go through. So I think it was. So I've got a little video to watch instead of listening to my voice about some sports science testing. Once we get past the advert.
Oh, sound coming out here, man.
Yeah, so we've got the boxing science testing battery. Analyzers there.
Can we turn up even more, Mike?
Speed, their strength, their power. So we have assessment for estimating punch force and punching speed, and then we work on their activity fitness. So if I take you through the full testing background, the movement is like an overhead squat, and now with movement assessments, you can kind of get bogged down with like FMS and loads of different like physio screening activities, but when you do physio screening activities, it highlights like quite a lot of problems. The problems arise if you're really looking for them. With the overhead squat, you kind of get a lot of the answers through that as well. If an athlete has got an injury or something like that, I would refer them to physio to do a physio screening. The thing is with physio screening as well, it's quite subjective. and is to the trained eye, so that's why I put them up towards physio. So that with overhead squat, I can get a good gauge of are they imbalanced between left and right, are they tight in their shoulders, are they tight in their hips. Also do things like squat stand assessment as well, so you can see the imbalances between left and right. Lowly, but also do the trunk rotation as well. That gives us a good indication there. And then we've got our jump assessments, so something that we're going to be doing this weekend, the reactive strength index, so that's a 10x5 pogo hop, assessing their ability to produce force and flight time, how quickly they can absorb that and reproduce that force through the contact time as well. So not only do we take what we call reactive strength index, RSI, we also look at in detail what they actually need to work on. Do they need to work on the flight time, so that's like basically the ability to produce force, or do we need to work on the contact time, the ability to control that force, absorb it, and then reproduce it. Then we've got counter movement jump and squat jump, which is assessment of lower body impulse. Then we work onto their strength profile, so something that you did earlier, the load velocity profile, seeing how they deal when they're stepping up in terms of weight load, see what kind of strength athlete are they. Are they fast, but not that strong, or they're strong but need to work on their speed. And this can really look at and help us analyse their performance and tell them exactly what they need to work on, what are their strengths, do we work towards them strengths, look at their areas of improvement and work on their weaknesses. Then we do the long line punch throw test, which is assessing their ability to produce force and speed through punch-specific action. Start off with a med ball throw, but we've adapted that just because you're getting better feedback, you're more accurate with the med ball punch throw, with the trajectory of it. So some people might throw it more forceful, but because they haven't got the trajectory right, the throw might not get as much distance. And also when they throw it long, we're trying to see where it lands. So with a landmine punch throw, it's much more controlled, much more data driven as well. And also we can create like load velocity profiles. So we look at whether they're fast with a lighter weight, and seeing how they kind of maintain that towards a heavier weight as well. Then we work on like kind of core assessments. So we'll do the prone and supine holds. We used to do it with the lateral holds, where we're seeing left and right obliques, but we found that that were quite a stressful position. It's quite hard for them to actually maintain that position. And also we didn't really assess like maximum force and intent, so that's why we're now looking towards doing rotational isometric testing. That will give us a bigger insight to how strong they are in their obliques. Then we work on to fitness, and there's various fitness tests that we do. A lactate profile, which is a bit like boxing, where it's 3 minutes on, 1 minute off. We start them from 9 kilometers an hour or 10, and then after each 3 minutes, they have a rest. We take their blood lactate, we take their heart rate, we take their RP, the rate of perceived exertion. So how their heart rates, that kind of responding, cardiovascular fitness, how the muscles are responding towards that increased intensity. Do they require more like kind of lactate to be able to perform? And then what their rate and perceived exertion is, how hard they find it. Okay? So start that around about 10. We increase it by 1 kilometre an hour each time, and each stage what we'll see is an increase in heart rate, an increase in lactate, and also that trend in lactate as well. So then we can profile them a little bit like the load velocity profile, where we're seeing is an athlete more high intensity based, or they're more endurance based, or they're a hybrid of the two. And then we've got a 30-15, which is a little bit like league test, where it's working on their high intensity capabilities, basically their max effort. Then also we've started doing a 30-second wing gate on the air bike, so 30-second all out effort to just see what their maximum intensive fitness is like. So yeah, that's about an overview of the...
And then just quickly, then how do you then discuss with the coaches? I can imagine that must be quite a difficult thing, you know, like this guy's...
So I just wanted to show you what strength testing and what the sports science strength and conditioning testing is. So we could see that was specific to boxing, but there was a lot of stuff there that would be for any sport, like lifting the weight for the one rep max. So Hugo's been with us and we've done the jump testing. So some things are basic, some things are specific to your sport, but it's definitely something if you get the chance to do it, and do it 100%, do it wholeheartedly, because then you'll get some nice results, and then your strength coach or your sports coach will know like deficiencies that you've got, and it gives you a nice scientific picture, not just somebody who's looking and seeing things, which is good, but we get some numbers and we get some scientific data from this. So I'll get off that. Yeah, so that kind of finishes the little intro and telling you an overview of the strength and conditioning and the sports science stuff. So what we're really going to look at here is training load, recovery and injury. It's only going to be 5 or 10 minutes, but it might just open your eyes to a few things, and yeah, it can be quite important. So this is a sciencey bit. This is how our body responds to training. So here, the training does whatever that is. So it can be in the gym, it can be running, it can be playing football, it can be any sort of stress that we do. This line here is our baseline. We put the training dose in, our body gets tired, we fatigue it. And then when we finish, we should recover, and that's the recovery phase. Then we get back to this line. If we do enough training, we want this line to move up as we're getting stronger and fitter. If we do too much of this, so we never get up here, we just keep stressing and stressing and stressing and stressing, we never get back to that line, that's when we get injured, or that's when we get a flu or the cold or whatever else. So there is science behind it. We have to do the stress and we have to do the recovery. Too much stress, no recovery. And that's what all these things are beside me, but that's an overview of that. And we've really got to be careful around the growth spurt. So the growth spurt is that rapid increase in rate of growth, height, weight, skeletal dimension, so arm length, leg length, and accelerated gains in bone mass in both boys and girls. And it can happen at any time between 11 and 16. So these two people here are the same age. So that kind of shows you the differences that it can be. Some people have an early growth spurt, some people have a later one. And yeah, he's obviously grown first before that one. But yeah, highly variable, and the bottom bit just episodic, so you can grow a little bit, then not grow for a while, and then grow again. It's not just a constant growth. And during this growth spurt, you can kind of lose. So if you've been really technically good at what you're doing, and you grow, you can revert back to not being as technically good. And that can be frustrating as an athlete, and it's this temporary decrement in motor skill, performance and learning. So you can just lose the skills because your body's grown. Your brain hasn't adapted to this growth yet. So we get what's called adolescent awkwardness, where you might bang into things, you might be tripping over, things just aren't working as they should. And in this growth spurt, in this adolescent awkwardness time, we can be at an increased injury risk. And they present with overuse and stress fractures. So we've got to be careful. What I'm getting to with this is, yes, there's loads of things. So people might have had Osgood-Schlatter's disease, which is one from growing, and Severs, and then we get knee injuries as well. But they should all go once you're through your growth spurt, once you're like 17, 18. But as part of your sports science testing, or if you're on a programme, we should be monitoring your growth, and by this we'll be measuring height and weight. And during this time, when there's a heightened risk, if you spoke to your coach and you can, like we would say, you're going through a growth spurt, or tell your parents, you need to be careful, and you want to reduce your training and competition load, because then chances of injuries are high. And this is what the evidence says: reduce training load and intensive activity by 50%. So the cushion surfaces, that's not for you, that's for us. But we try to do more of these: coordination work, balance work, mobility, core work. So there's generally not as much technical stuff. You just need to do the basics again. So if someone's going through a growth spurt, don't just try and go through it. You need to speak to your strength coach or your sports coach, and hopefully they'll have an understanding of this, because we don't want injuries. We just want better training, and then we can mitigate the injuries. So, getting on. This is a crucial thing as well: completing 2 high-intensity activities in one day. That is a real overload. So if you're playing football on the school team and you play, at school, then you come out and you play for your team on the evening, you're at a really high risk of getting injured. That's the 2 high intensity activities. If you train in the morning and you compete in an afternoon, that's the 2 high intensity activities. 2 high intensity activities in one day is really bad. Playing 2 full games, so that could be 2 competitions within 60 hours. You really don't want to be doing that. And these are things that we want to be doing a lot of the time, not just during the growth spurt. We've got to be careful of load. When I said more is more and enough is enough, we've got to be careful how much the children train. And you've got to, they might want to do more, you might want to push them more, but more isn't always better, and it can lead to injuries, ongoing injuries, which is no good for anybody. So just be aware that 2 intense activities in one day is really bad, and that playing 2 full games or 2 competitions close together. So as a strength coach, and our programme here, every strength coach will have their own philosophy, every strength place will have their own philosophy. Kind of our vision for when we work with the champs here and the football girls, we want to empower athletes to be strong and robust. Robust means resistant to injury. We want them to be strong, we want them to be injured less. And that's our 2 goals. Anything else, improving your skill, things like that, we can do outside, but if we can get athletes to be stronger and more robust and resilient, that's what we want. And also exhibit a high level of movement competence in various settings. From slow to fast, controlled to chaotic. So we'll start off doing things slow and controlled, and then we'll build up to fast and a bit more uncontrolled, because that's the real world, that's sport. Sport isn't controlled. We do things controlled, but then we move along that continuum to get them to move fast. And these are some of our key principles for some of our age groups. So under 12s, exploring movement, having fun, foundational movement skills. So when we talk about movement patterns, these things are going to come up a lot. We have a squat pattern, lunge and hinge, brace, which is our core, which is like planks. Anything to do with our core, usually brace, and push. And then there should be pull on there, push and pull. And they're the general ones for any S&C stuff, these sort of movement patterns. But these are ones that we have used, and earning the right to progress. By that we mean having a good attitude, being coachable, as well as doing the exercises right. So it's not just you go to your S&C or your strength wherever you go, you just turn up and do it. You might not progress, your coach might keep you where you are. You've got to earn the right, you've got to work hard, you've got to put the time in. You've got to be coachable. If someone's trying to tell you what to do it. Not questioning all the time or answering back, just be coachable, and it'll all help you in your sport. And then this is periodisation, this is how we periodise strength. So this is a little example for football. So we've got our dates across the top, and in the first few weeks we work on braking strength, so that's stopping. So when we brake, turning, changing direction, and then we have an in-gym element and we have a pitch element. So for individual sports you might have the in-gym element, and then when you go and do your skills training, that is where you would do similar to the pitch. But so we do braking strength with 2 overlapping training plans, acceleration strength, exercises change to complement acceleration strength, and then at the end we'd work on speed and max velocity with a different set of parameters. But when we talk about periodisation, that's how we do it. Dates and times, things interlinking. We know if we work on braking strength, we can then work on acceleration, and then we can work on both of them. We can work on speed and change of direction. But we've always got to have a plan, and most S&C coaches will have some sort of periodisation for whatever sport it is. And that's just an example of how we can periodise it. So swimmers, or actually any of you who've got multiple competitions throughout the year, if you've got 4 competitions, this is how a basic periodisation would look. So we call, getting technical now, so it says accumulation, that's your strength, you're working on strength in the gym. Transmutation is when we turn your strength to power, and then the realisation is when we turn your power into speed and power together, ready for your competition. So this is kind of a more advanced multiple peaking. But that's what we mean. We can kind of tailor things specifically for competitions. And kind of that's how it would work. 4 to 6 weeks of your accumulation, 2 to 4 weeks of the transmutation, 1 to 2 weeks of the realisation, and then competition. And then also in a good gym session, and we do that here, our warm-up is part of the session. We do things like challenging hip stability, and we might put in some other exercises that we deem are really appropriate. So for footballers, it's hamstrings. For boxers, it might be shoulders or back. And in our warm-up, it's not just a warm-up, we can use it and tailor it to complement your sport and your activity.
Andy, can I ask a question?
No.
More to the people here rather
Yeah.
than to you. Do many of you actually do any strength conditioning, gym-based work within your clubs? Or do you just do what you think is right? If you're going to put your hands up so we can see kind of, sorry to put you all on the spot as I'm talking to you all, but just to be curious to see where kind of people's kind of background is. So a few of you do, which is really good. I was just curious more than anything else.
Do they not get it as part of your programme? Do they?
No, not at the moment.
So,
we're looking into that.
right. Right, so, cardinal rule of training, I said it earlier, consistency. You probably know that from your sport. Just going in regularly, week in, week out, that's how you see the improvements. And good things come to those who wait. So when you're doing your training, probably not going to impact next week, probably not going to impact next month. 6 months down the line, that's when you see the difference. This time next year, that's when you'll see the difference. And I know that's like, next year, 6 months, oh, that's a long time. That's twice a week, that's a lot of effort. But you'll reap the rewards. Good things come to those who wait. You keep working hard, you will get faster, you will get stronger. Whatever it is, you will get faster out of the blocks, you will punch harder, you will move quicker. Consistency and time, and it will work. The same as you probably know with your sport. You started out as a beginner and you went every week and you trained, and now you're better at it, you've got more skills, and that's the same with strength training. You've got to put the time in, you've just got to do it consistently. So, we're going to move on. So this is Mark asked me to kind of do some demonstrations about exercise. So I've tried to frame it in how we teach exercise. And this is how strength coaches should teach exercises and what good exercises look like. It's only 1 or 2 exercises. So if we're teaching the squat, we would start with a body weight squat. We've got a prisoner squat because we've got our hands on our head. And this is from our governing body, the UKSCA, the UK Strength and Conditioning Association. So we have all this just to start, it tells us what we're going to do. And then we have each one of these coaching points for a start position that we are looking for as a coach. We are looking for all these. And then as we go down, we've got another set. And then we're at the bottom, we've got another set. So when you're working with a coach and they're saying, oh, bring your heels wider apart, or up a little bit straighter, pull your shoulders back, this is because we've got this information, we've been assessed on it, and this is how we want you to do it. And it's quite complex, and then we have an ascent, and then we have to know what phase it is, what joint, what's the joint action, what's the muscles, what's the contraction. So when we're just looking at you doing an exercise, all these things are going through our mind as strength coaching. It's not just, oh, just get there and just squat. No, we're watching all these, we're watching from different angles, we want to make sure you do it right. And then they also tell us the errors. But why do we want to do it right? So there's a basic squat, your body weight squat. You master that. And then you've got a goblet squat, we've got a weight now. So we're getting stronger. We've got our technique right at first. Move on to the goblet squat. We're still watching our technique, but we're getting stronger. Then we move on to a back squat, we've got a barbell now. It takes a little bit more control with the barbell than it does with the goblet squat. We've got to be careful of our back, we've got to have top technique. We might move on, we might complement that with a Zercher squat, where we're holding it at the front. We might do a front squat. Front squat is our ultimate one that we want to get to, where we have the bar and our delts. This can take a long time. We might not get here till we're 18, 19. We're working through them. And the row. So this is for our back. We'll start with our body lie and pull. Some of you might have done that where you just lay under the bar and you just pull your body up. Nice and simple. And then we'll progress. We might do renegade rows, where we row a weight alternately. And then if you get good at that, because these both have core control in as well, so these are good exercises, then we might do TRX rows. We might do deadlifts once we're getting stronger in our back. So everything has a progression, and you might think, oh, I'm stuck on this. But we've got to get it right before we can move on to the more advanced, loaded stuff. And then, ultimately, we might do a bent over row for our back. Same action from that to that. But this is only body weight. We can put as much weight as we want here so we can get as strong as we want. And then I've put in a standing press for our shoulders. So there's a progression for every exercise. Start basic, and we get more advanced. But as I said earlier, Olympic lifting is kind of seen as the gold standard, where we move heavy weights and we move them fast. But you've got to put the basics in first. And if we do all these, then if you look here, we've got a deadlift. We've got a front squat there. We've got the end of a push. We've got a push press here in the end of it. So the exercises that you're doing all come together later on into a pattern like this. So we've worked on them. You don't know why we're doing it, but we're doing it to get you here. And then when we're there, let's show you what that looks like. Maybe. So this isn't long, but it just shows you where we want to be and why we do them exercises. So there was our deadlift, and we're in a row position, a hinge. There's a bit of technique work here before it goes into the front squat. But we've been following that plan. We can front squat, we can do that. We can do the row, we can do the deadlift, we can do the front squat. We've been practicing our pressing. So now we can do the press and finish that full clean and push jerk exercise. And by doing that, that generates power, speed and power, which is good for our sport, whatever sport we want to do.
Has anyone done any lift like that before? Anything Olympic lifting wise? You put it off, Hugo. Anybody else?
So I just wanted to show you, when you think, why am I doing that, why am I doing that? There is a plan, and we'll all come together for the best stuff, which is the Olympic lifting stuff. So, like I say, consistency, work hard, do the exercises, know that you're going to be doing something like that later on. So I'm just going to show you a little video of actually some training. And this isn't, we're going to have some questions after this. So I'm going to ask you what exercises you see while they're doing it. So, watch it closely.
Save up to £300 on your family holiday with TUI.
Won't go for
These aren't part of the questions, by the way.
And plenty of me time for grown-ups.
Next we're good. On the way, it's on inside. 20 minutes. If you didn't play, it's a top up. If you didn't
So this is the All Blacks rugby team.
I'm the strength and conditioning coach for the All Blacks. Just here for these ones, put the boys through their paces ahead of our second test here in Australia.
So just keep your eyes open and have a look and tell me, we're going to see what exercises they do at the end.
See those knees out, big test. Go down the hole. That's it. Come, Colton. Pull up his back, mate. You might put that pull down properly. Mate, have you ever seen a turtle run that fast? Here we go, Jack. Slow down, fast up. Okay, slow down. Hold up. Big chest, that's us. Still quiet. That one's alright. So come in here, bro. Another one, Robbie. Come on. Energy, come on. Energy, easy, one more, come on. Yes, that's right. Yes, you're right. You want to sit, bro? There you go. Well, all day long, bro. Or if you got 10 to go, I reckon. 9 now. 8 now. 7 now. Where will they pass them? Yeah, good. I'm not being the jam.
Well, why are you not going out about 10 days?
I don't work like that. Hey, you gonna do some sunbathing this week, or the forecast's good for Wednesday, mate? You can come in on Thursday or read. Hey? That's it, Brad. Slow down, fast up, let's go. Hey! Yeah, it's us. Two more. Come on. Let's go. That's us. And again. That was about, the body's like, if you keep throwing the same thing at it, it'll just be able to do that. But if you give it something that it can't handle, it'll adapt. Maybe you should strengthen up that way, like fall down like that. Another. Good boy. It's up. Finish her off. If you're done, out of your place.
Right, so what exercises did we see being done there? Yeah.
Bench press.
Bench press. Yes, right.
Pull-ups.
Pull-ups, yeah. Any more?
Squats.
Squats. Any more? There's more? Don't be shy. Mark will get up and point you out.
I'd never do such a thing.
So we've seen him doing a row variation where he was laid on the bench, rowing it. We've seen at the end they were doing some core work where they were had the legs off the floor and they were holding a plate. But if there was what I'm trying to get at with this was there was a lot of the basics: squats, bench press, rows, pull-ups. So if you start out doing that, these are elite athletes. These people at the top of the game, the top of world rugby, one of the best teams. Yeah, they're using more weight, but they're still doing the basic exercises. So when you are doing this, you're on that path. You're not doing anything different to what elite athletes are doing. Everyone's doing the same stuff. The difference is your mindset, working hard, like I said, that consistency. And yeah, you might not like it, it's not the best thing, it's not your sport, but it's really going to help you. So kind of stick in there and do it. There's other videos, but I'm not going to show you them because we haven't got time, but it's the same sort of thing. Women's football, the England women's footballers are doing the same stuff that them men's or black people are doing. The boxing guys is doing the same. So it doesn't matter what sport you're in, you need to be strong all round, like we say, strong and robust, and get these basics in place. So we did that. We don't need that. So kind of this is another little part of the strength and conditioning, and kind of ties into everything I've been saying. We want you to lift well, so that means doing things with the correct technique. Then once you can lift well, then you can lift heavy. You don't go to lifting heavy with poor technique. And then once you can lift heavy, you can lift fast. So we learn the technique, like we showed you on them progressions. Then we move up to the weighted stuff, we can get strong, we can lift heavy. Then we can do the Olympic lifting, we can move it fast. So they're kind of the three underpinning pillars of S&C. And then this is applicable all these, like, strength is not what sport is about. It's not. Sport is about force reduction at high velocities and high rates of speed. So whatever you want to do, there's an element of using your body to create momentum and speed. Sport is about being powerful, but strength underpins all these movements. So it's not just about being strong, we need to develop it into force, into speed. And every dynamic movement in sport is a skilled act requiring the coordination of dozens of muscle groups, hundreds of motor neurons and thousands of muscle fibres. And to get the best out of them, you've got to be consistent, you've got to do it again and again. And that's the strength stuff done. And we've got 5 minutes or so for a bit of sports nutrition. So we'll have a little quiz first. Do we know who them people are in there? So who's the first guy? Yeah, Usain Bolt. The guy in the middle?
Lucia.
Yes, you should know that one. And then, you might not know this one.
No.
She's really successful rower for Britain. Do you know, man?
So yeah, I don't know myself. I should do.
Don't you?
No.
So it's Catherine Granger. Were you going to say that?
Yeah, that was the name I said, but I wasn't sure.
That was the one for the
Everyone
parents,
got-
not the kids, I think, that one. Yeah, so we've got some elite athletes there, just to highlight that sports nutrition is for everybody. So like I say, I'm not a nutritionist. This is taken from a nutritionist's presentation, by the way. So I can highlight the key things. So recovery is important. I've talked about the training. And recovery is, if not more important than the actions. And that includes sleep, stress levels, mood, fatigue, your appetite, hydration, muscle soreness. And I like to explain this as we've got a bucket of stress that our body can take. And there's all these stresses fill that bucket. So if you're having a bad day at school, that stress bucket's getting filled. If you've trained, that stress bucket's getting filled. If you're hungry, the stress bucket's getting filled. And once that stress bucket gets full, that's when you're going to get injured, that's when you're going to get tired, or the flu, or a cold, or all them sorts of things. But even though you might think physical stress and mental stress, they fill the same kind of bucket in our body. So if you're training really hard and you're doing exams, or you've got a hard time at home for whatever, you're going through things, that's too much stress. That's when you, as kids, they probably need to decrease what they're doing, because there's only so much that bucket can take. So just think that everything is every stress thing is filling the same bucket. It's not a mental and a physical, it's the same. So if we've got mental stresses and physical stresses, it's going to impact at some point. So we've got to make sure we get good sleep, good rest, good hydration, good food, to kind of mitigate that, to empty that stress bucket back out. And your performance is all about these things: speed, power, strength, suppleness, and decision making, and how you feel. And all these things can be affected by fatigue. So if you're not fueled right, you're not going to be fast, you're not going to be strong enough, you'll make the wrong decisions. And there we go, the first things that goes: decision making, fine motor skills, turning, deceleration, agility, acceleration and power, high intensity running, cardiovascular system. So food and recovery and sleep are key important factors to performance. And then I like that, how you thriving or surviving, you need to fuel your body to recover. So things like this: how many days do you spend stiff or sore or below 100%? How many sessions do you do below 100%? Because if you're doing below 100%, you haven't rested right, you're not fueled right, there's too much stress going on. And as athletes, you've got to be honest with yourself and your parents about these things. If things aren't right, or your coach, you've got to speak up about them. Don't give anything less than your best. You want to thrive, not just survive. And then when we're talking about fueling ourselves, this is what we want: carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins and minerals. What does protein do? Regenerates our muscle tissue. So if you've trained hard, we need protein. And I know a nutritionist would say not protein shakes and not protein bars. Good protein. Milk's a good protein. And one thing we always say about recovery or after a training session, milk and a banana is a really nice combination for recovery, and nuts. You put them in after you've trained, you've got your carbohydrates and vitamins and minerals in that banana, as well as the nuts, and you've got your protein from the milk. So it's a nice, easy way for a recovery rather than a protein bar.
Why not a protein bar?
Because there's a lot of hidden stuff in there, sugars and artificial things which aren't good for you. If we've got a choice of this, you've got a milk at this end, and protein bar at this end. We want the milk, but if we can't have the milk, have the protein bar. But the milk's a better choice, because there's no hidden nasties in there, that's all. So we're trying to go as healthy as we can. Has anybody else got any more questions?
What about the protein powder?
Same sort of thing, same sort of...
Would you avoid it?
I would. It's on that scale again. I would go for milk over protein powder, because in a glass of milk you get about 20 grams of protein in a pint of milk maybe. But protein powder is only whey protein derived from milk somewhere else at the beginning. So if we can have milk, go for milk. If you can't, and you've only got protein powder because you're busy all day, so you've got powder and you can have access to water and you can make a protein drink, better than nothing. But if you go and see when the nutritionist comes in, they'll give you even more detail on that. But kind of natural food is where we want to be all the time. So that's when we're eating and that's when we're recovering. If we can stay away from the manufactured stuff, whey protein, protein bars, anything like that, and stick to the more natural foods, that's better for us. And this is the new government's Eat Well guidelines. So, because you're athletes, you probably need a little bit more protein. You need that after recovery, after training recovery. Maybe before training, you want a little something. But generally, eating healthy is the way to go. And that's their new guidelines on what we want to eat. So you can still eat, like I would say protein bars would be in this less often in small amounts because of the amount of hidden sugar and things they have. Even the ones that say no sugar, there's one protein bar that has really low carbs, Grenade. But if you look at the ingredients, there's about 200 ingredients in it. What are all them ingredients? And there's a lot of them is chemicals. So I think if you can stay away from them, you're doing yourself a better service. And also, for any of the budding athletes, so I'm a UK anti-doping advisor as well. So we've got to check, their website, there's a QR code, if you just go on their website, UKAD, you need to check what foods you're eating as you get more, if there's any sort of testing for any athletes. Some of these foods might have something hidden that we don't know about, whereas if you're having the simple stuff, there's nothing hidden in there. And there has been cases of like protein powders that have had hidden nasties in and people have been pulled up and disciplined like for their governing body by having them in. So even though it's manufactured and you think, oh well that's a brand I know, there could still be hidden things in there that you shouldn't be having as an athlete. So I should flag that up as well. And then eating for sport, make sure your tank is full so you don't want to be training on no energy, but the right balance for you. And then there's your recovery, carbs, protein, fat, whatever that can be. We want it to be milk and banana, we want it to be healthy, but a protein bar or a protein drink, protein shake is better than nothing, and it's going to give you that recovery. And then with vitamins and minerals. And then the key thing there, stay hydrated, water all the time. And I know everyone seems to have the cups and drinking out the bottles and that these days, but water is the best thing for keeping you hydrated and keeping them energy levels up. And that's it. Thank you. So, do I have any questions? Anybody got any questions about anything that I've gone over that you